सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। So, welcome you all to the 9th session of Indic Knowledge Landscape and Overview. Let us have a discussion on what you have learned in the previous session. We talked about the first Vedanga, Siksha, and what you all have understood about it. Let us have a discussion. Sundaresh Mahodaya, would you like to start? Sundaresh Mahodaya, are you there?
Bhagini, I'm here. Yes. So you want me to discuss about this Siksha? Okay, I actually shared my thoughts and what I learned from the previous session about Siksha. Siksha is the science of phonetics, as we discussed. It's basically a treatise that actually enunciates the way the varnas or the letters have to be pronounced in the Vedic mantras. As we all know, it's a treatise written by PANINIYA Maharishi, and it can be considered as one of the fundamental treatises of Sanskrit grammar in terms of how to pronounce the letters and also the words that are constituted by these letters. Okay, and it is not a very big treatise. It is a treatise consisting of 60 slokas, and the major aspects, some of the major aspects that are covered in the Siksha include many different aspects of how to pronounce these words within the Vedic mantras. The most important being, actually in Taittiriya Upanishad, the very first sentence itself, the very first paragraph starts with invocating the Siksha itself. It says, Siksha vyakyasyaamaha varnaswaraha matra balam samasantanaha ityuktasvi ekshadhyayaha. Basically, what it means is how to pronounce the swaras or the vowels, the different types of vowels. That's one. That's varnaswaraha, matra balam, and what is the time that has to be used in pronouncing each varna, whether it's 1 second or 2 seconds or 3 seconds. It's called matra. Matra in Sanskrit basically means the time, elapsed time to pronounce each letter. And balam means the emphasis that you give on the pronunciation of those letters. Basically, the pressure that we put, the aspirates and the unaspirates, the mahapranas and the alpapranas, and how we pronounce that. Matra balam samasantanaha. Samaha means it brings about the integration of those varnas, and santanaha finally gives a meaning of that whole set of varnas that are pronounced, which actually make a word. It equalizes the varnas, thereby solidifying the meaning of the word. So that is basically the phonetics. That's one aspect of it. And also Siksha talks about the origin of these letters, how they are, where they originate within our mouth, throat, and vocal cord complex. When one of my Veda gurus who taught me, he used to use this acronym called mouth, throat, and vocal cord, MTV complex. He used to call it as a mouth, throat, and vocal cord, because we have the upper palatal, the gutturals, and all that stuff. So he used to use the MTV complex. And then Siksha actually very clearly describes the origin of these words, these letters basically. And and how they have to be pronounced, and how actually what kind of shape they take depending on the place of origin. And it is also, and the effort that is used to pronounce these letters is called as prayatna. The effort, in Sanskrit, they call it as prayatna. And what kind of prayatna has to be exercised in terms of how to pronounce these letters exactly the way it's supposed to be pronounced, with like it's an aspirate or an unaspirate, and things like that. So when we talk about this unaspirate and aspirate, Siksha also talks about 4 different types of pronouncing a letter. One is called the udatta. Udatta means when we pronounce a word, we give a slightly higher pitch or emphasis to it, so that that word, that letter is pronounced in a slightly higher way. And it's called udatta, and it is marked by a vertical stroke on top of that letter. And the other one is the anudatta. Anudatta means at the bottom. When we pronounce it, the emphasis is a little lower on that. So then that is indicated by a horizontal stroke below that varna. That's called anudatta. And swarita. Swarita means it's a flat. That means you don't use a udatta or anudatta. And that is the third type. And the fourth type, actually, which is not officially included, but a lot of books also talk about it. It's called the pluta. It's called the protracted letter, where we actually prolong the pronunciation, like Devadatta, Rama. We say ha, hu, ha, hu, ha, hu. That is one that comes in Taittiriya Upanishad, where it's protracted means the emphasis on that letter is prolonged in terms of its pronunciation. It's called pluta. And there is one more thing. It's called the Dirgha Swarita. When we look at the Veda mantras, we have 2 vertical lines on some letters. Dirgha Swarita means Swarita itself is a flat, and Dirgha Swarita is you prolong that flat a little bit before you change the intonation of that. Sahasra Sirisha Purusha Sahasraksha Sahasrapad Sabhumim Vishwato Vrutva Atyatishta Dashangulam. There are places where I think I can remember one more thing. San Chatushpade, where we prolong the pronunciation of a flat, or the flat that means a swarita, then it's called Dirgha Swarita when we prolong it. So in actuality, there are 5 different ways of pronouncing the varnas in Veda mantras. So that's as far as the phonetics are concerned. Then the Siksha also talks about the different ways the words are formed and words are combined together, and the ways they are chanted, like the Kramapata, Jatapata, then we have the Ganapata, and there are 9 different types. Actually, that is enunciated in the Siksha treatise. And it also talks about the adhikari, who has got the adhikara, or who has got the it's basically a permission to recite these mantras. So it talks about the adhikara of who can recite these mantras. Then like I said, with phonetics, it talks about this, and it talks about varna, this thing, and it also I think I forgot. I mentioned in my PDF. There are 11 things that I mentioned, 11 or 12 things I mentioned in my PDF that I shared. Let me see. I'm trying to, just a second. Let me recall my document here, and I'll go through it. 1 second. 1 second.
Effects of mispronunciation.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thanks for reminding me. It also talks about the quality of the pronunciation of these varnas. There are 2 slokas. I'm not able to recall that. It's how to recite Veda mantras correctly. Basically, that there is one sloka for it, and there is also another sloka that says what are the side effects of not pronouncing properly. I mean, the quality of the pronunciation and its benefits, and also the mispronunciation of that. So there are 2 slokas for that. I just cannot recall it right now. So it also describes in detail about those 2 different aspects of the Vedic recitation. And last but not the least, just a second, let me.
Importance of pronunciation, according to
importance of pronunciation. And then 1 second, let me open up my PDF documents here. Yeah, and then I think let me go through. It also talks about the classification of these letters we spoke about before, and the origination, where they originate within the mouth, um, throat and vocal cord complex, the pronunciation and the effort associated. We talked about that, and the quality of correct and incorrect Vedic chanting. That's just now we talked about that, and also the types of swaras for different yagnas. That's also another important aspect of it. It also enunciates the different types of swaras that are used for chanting while doing different types of yajnas. And the other thing that I very distinctly and nicely remember, that how Haripriya Bhagini described about the hand gestures that are used in terms of recitation of these Vedas. And actually, it was very heavily used up until, as far as I remember, at least until 20, 25 years ago, people used to use, but now people don't seem to use the hand gestures that much, even though in some gurukulas they teach how to use the hand gestures in order to indicate which is a anudatta, which is a udatta and swarita and things like that. So hand gestures are how to use the hand gestures while reciting the Veda mantras. And another important aspect that is actually the Siksha talks about is how the chirping of the birds are used in terms of determining the matras of these varnas that are recited during this Vedic chanting. And then we talked about the adhikara and the pronunciation, mispronunciation. And I think that's basically what I got from the last lecture. And thanks for the opportunity.
Excellent. Naresh Mahodaya, would you like to?
I'm sorry, but after this elaborate discussion, I wonder I can add anything. In fact, I'll like to clarify a couple of points with this great treatise that he has stated. Excellent treatment of the subject. So I have nothing much to add. My knowledge is not that great. But I'd like to ask a couple of clarifications or elucidations, if you permit, Sundaresh Saab.
Yeah,
So one
please.
is this bird chirping sounds. I didn't understand. What does it signify?
What it signifies, for example, I talked about a pluta. That means it's the protracted syllable. See, when we pronounce certain words, then we have to be cognizant of how long does that varna has to be pronounced. Is it 1 second or 1.5 second or 2 seconds and things like that? So usually what they say is in Vedic chanting, a winking of an eye is called one matra. We wink our eyes, right? It's one matra, but that winking of an eye is actually taken as a reference point from the chirping of the birds. Certain birds actually, when they chirp, and there is a sloka for it. I will share that sloka. I cannot recall that. I used to know by heart, but I've forgotten that. In that, actually, there is a very nice sloka that actually talks about 4 different types of birds, and then their chirping. They use that as a reference point, like it's 1 second, 2 seconds, or 3 seconds, like that. And that's what I mean by that. The bird chirping is taken as a reference point for the duration of which a varna has to be pronounced or recited.
There are no stopwatches that time. So they go into connotation of birds chirping. Excellent. Thank you. And the next one is about use of fingers, hand gestures. You said in the mantras in some of the gurukuls they still do that. So what is the connotation of that?
The connotation is, I will show you, because see, when I learned Vedic chanting, actually my guru showed it only 1 or 2 classes in the beginning. Okay, and then afterwards he discontinued because so I don't know why, but they use this hand and it goes like this and then it comes like that. It actually, they indicate whether it's a udatta. That means a syllable has to be, the emphasis on that syllable has to be a little bit more. For a mahaprana we call, that means you have to stress the difference between a da and tha. Okay, and you have a lowercase da and an uppercase da, the. So it actually, these gestures will tell you whether when to give a lot more emphasis and when to reduce the emphasis. So that's why these hand gestures are used.
Understood. So this kind of thing is now prevalent in, I think these guys who are masters of the music, if there's a musician sitting there, I mean, I have only seen English part of it. So they also raise like this, and then the whole very orchestra starts going at a very high pitch.
Correct.
And so on. So
yes, exactly.
maybe they are copied from us.
Yes. Yes, they have. They have. In symphonies and all, you see how they use this. They have a wand in their hand and they use it. Actually, it is basically the origin of those things is from our Vedic mantras itself, the hand gestures. And just recently also I saw one video, and all these little children, how nicely they do and so fast they do it, because my guru who taught me used to tell me that when we chant these Vedic mantras, the people who are listening should be able to write it, should be able to capture the recitation and write the sentences with the other udatas and anudatas. Then it is an actual testimony of how well you can chant. It's very, I mean, you have to be a master for that. But you say that is the goal of chanting.
That is a depth of studies and thoroughness. Maybe.
Exactly.
Thank you very much for your excellent expose on this. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Ma'am, I have nothing much to add for it. So thoroughly covered it. I'm not qualified. Thank you.
Anyhow, this Hastachalana, what he spoke about, not only raising your palm up or down, it is about using your fingers and thumb. That we have discussed in the previous session. It helps in your cognitive skills also. That also is important. Yes, next, Chaitra Mahodaya, would you like to speak?
Not really, Mahoday. I mean, Sundaresh sir has done it so beautifully. I have nothing to add. But I mean, actually, I have a little concern, Mahoday. Like, so much of content gets, discussed in each class. So I find it very challenging to consolidate all of it, So yeah, so that's proving to be a challenge, I mean, personally, I'm speaking for myself. So how do I do that? That's something which keeps bothering me always.
Yes. We will do one summary. Maybe after 4 or 5 classes, we will do a summary of what all things, most important things we have to remember. Then it would be easier. Content is so much, so whatever I try to reduce, I will be feeling, see now so many points which I had not discussed, those things he has brought up, so I will see I have missed like that. Shivani Mahodaya, would you like to?
I can say, ma'am, in the sense I was trying to go through it, but it's literally peanuts in compared to what Sundaresh sir has said.
Okay.
So, but I'm going through it. As Chaitra Mahodaya has said, that I am also having that challenge that these few things we have learned in Sasyam, but how will I categorize it and how will I remember it? It is a challenge. Yeah.
Yes. That of course is there for all of us, because Indic knowledge itself is so huge, so very difficult to remember everything. Let us try as much as possible. Nalini Mahodaya, would you
ask a connected question? Yeah, that is like the Sanskrit course I'm doing. I think exchange one message on that. So I'm in the basic thing at the moment. Parallelly started this in July. So like they have, I believe, 4 years to go and advanced things come up and so on. So is there something planned for Indic knowledge also? Because I believe this is the first course. So is there anything advanced or more detailed going later that we could consider to join to answer Chaitra's point? Once you have that, then that will be better probably to assimilate.
Let me think about it. I have not thought about it actually.
Okay. Thank you. Sorry, I didn't mean anything. But I just was wondering if there is anything like that. It will be great to join that as a follow-up for advanced.
No, this was an experiment. I just wanted to. I was discussing with Jayakumar Mahodaya whether we can try this. So he said, oh, "Why not?" So that way we landed up here.
Then we are talking on the same frequency. Thank you.
Nalini Mahodaya, would you like to say something about?
What I got is, I think you had also given us a shloka where you were talking about the Saptaswara and how, for example, Na and Ga had Udakte, and then Udatta and Ri and the Anudatta, Sha, Ma, Pa, Swarita. So you had also categorized that. Then, of course, you had spoken about 9 kinds of words based on accent, Navapada Shriya.
Padashaya.
Yeah, and then of course you also spoke about the air passage, ma'am. What we do in the morning, afternoon, and evening. The air, urasi, that is air around the chest, is in the morning. Air around the throat is in the afternoon, and around the skull is in the evening, is what you told us. And so that ensures, I mean, that is part of the science behind how one is supposed to enunciate those words. Then, of course, you also spoke about how the granthas themselves of Panini as a whole were composed in order to protect the Vedas for posterity. That they were, and you spoke about the 5 purposes, that is Raksha, Uha, Agama, Laghu. Yeah.
Asam.
Asan. So all of that, and also, of course, as Sundaresh sir mentioned, explained very nicely about the place of articulation. All of that also went a long way in deciding, because, as you said, also that you can't take a pause wherever you like, you can't stress wherever you like,
Yes.
you can't stop where you like. If the meter, the chandas is whatever, like Gayatri Chandas or Trishubh, or the most common is Anushtup Chandas, that we all recite various this thing mantras in. That if you stop at the wrong place, you sometimes give the opposite meaning of what you intend to say, actually. And that is why the reason perhaps why Panini Maharshi has given us these priceless texts is to ensure that you get the right fruit of what you are chanting. Otherwise, it's of no use. You simply chant in the air and nothing, it won't. And you also told us that these Vedic chants are very powerful because they have the power to create.
Yes.
And that's why only people who have reached a very elevated state of consciousness and spiritual bliss are able to when they say it, things come into effect, not otherwise.
Yes.
So that's about it.
Okay, very good, excellent. Indu Mahode, would you like to say a few words?
I think Sundaresh sir has covered it, and the rest of them have covered it very well. But what I wanted to ask is this Paniniya Panjagrandhi, there is something like this. So he has written this Paniniya Shiksha, Sutra Badaha, Tadu Badaha. So does this come under the Ashtadhyayi, or is this a separate thing?
Yes, that we are going to discuss today.
Okay, ma'am. And I would like to say that I like this phrase of Panini, which says that the speaking you're uttering Sanskritam should be just like the tigress carries its offsprings in her mouth so gracefully but carefully. So I really liked.
Yes, should be so beautifully done. There is aesthetics, they say, no, like that. Aesthetics in whatever you do. Astu. So today we will take up okay. Today we will take up the second Vedanga, Vyakaranam. Vedangas, as you all know, there are 6 Vedangas. Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam, Chandas, Kalpaha, Jyotisham. But the first 4, Shiksha, Vyakaranam, Niruktam and Chandas, they provide the basis for grammatical structure, phonetics, phonology, whatever. It is called Swara Vijnana, Ucharana, then etymology, Vyutpatti Vijnana, how the words are coined, and then prosody. They all aid in understanding the Vedas. Then Panini's Ashtadhyayi represents the first attempt in the history of the entire world to describe and analyze the components of a language on a scientific basis. And it is also universally acclaimed as the first and foremost specimen of descriptive grammar. Why it is descriptive, that we will try to understand. Then the word Vyakarana, for grammar we say Vyakarana in all Indian languages. And how is it formed? It is formed by prefixing V upasarga, and A, another upasarga. The root is Kr, V, Ang, Kr. The first prefix, which is V, that suggests division, differentiation, distinguishing, etc. And the second upasarga, A, that gives us the meaning like to integrate, to put together, to gather, to include, like that. And Vyakarana can be thought of as an analysis of language to identify the basic building blocks of a language and a synthesis of those building blocks. And Vyakarana is the system of rules implicit in a language governing the structural and functional relationships of the components of the language. There are like Vakya Rachana. How will you do it? How to go about it? And there are rules you have to follow. Then how words are combined to form phrases and sentences. Then Akriti Vijnana, you call it. This refers to the process by which word components like roots, stems, prefixes, and affixes combine to form words. And Swara Vijnana is the study of sound system. Then we get into Bhasha Vijnana, that is linguistics. Then we can call Panini an information scientist because he has been able to analyze the language Sanskritam so beautifully, and he has given us a prescriptive and generative grammar. What is that prescription? As a doctor gives us prescription to he asks us to follow whatever medicines we have to take, when to take, how to take, all those things. And Ashtadhyayi is a prescriptive medicine. And also it is the generative grammar. What do you understand by generative grammar? What happens is you are able to create new words with whatever content he has given. We are able to generate new words. That is the beauty of Ashtadhyayi. And this Ashtadhyayi is supplemented by the ancillary texts like Maheshwara Sutras, then Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha, then Linganushasanam, then Gunadi Patha. This Maheshwara Sutra is also called Akshara Samamnaya. Then Panini's theory of morphological analysis was more advanced than any equivalent Western theory before the 20th century. And how he has developed his this Ashtadhyayi is it uses meta language. That is meta rules is paribhasha. There is one prakarana, paribhasha prakarana. What does this paribhasha prakarana say? He has given so many rules for us, and he will say in this paribhasha, he will say how to apply these whatever pratyaya or any upasarga or any other word, how to and where to apply them. That kind of generative, descriptive rules have been composed by Maharshi Panini. And we, as many of you might be knowing, there was this Alan Turing, an English mathematician. He was a computer scientist and then was highly influential in the development of theoretical computer science. He is considered to be the father of theoretical computer science and also artificial intelligence. So during the Second World War, what did he do? He worked for the government organization and devised a number of techniques for speeding the breaking of German ciphers. Then played a crucial role in cracking intercepted codes, coded messages that enabled the allies of Britain to win the war, to defeat the enemies. And we can see that Panini's meta rules and the meta language has been compared to the Turing machine, which was used by Alan Turing. There is so much of logical structure, and any computing device has been reduced to its essentials using an idealized mathematical model. That kind of work has been created by Maharshi Panini. And this sutra style treatise on Sanskritam grammar consists of 8 chapters. Each chapter comprises of 4 padas, and this is the foundational text of the Vyakarana branch of the Vedanga. And Panini Maharshi has preferred brevity, means all his sutras are crisp and they are not elaborate, something very huge and difficult to recite, not like that. Entire Ashtadhyayi can be recited end to end in 2 hours for an expert. His aphoristic text led to the emergence of a great number of commentaries of his work over the centuries, of which Maharshi Patanjali's Mahabhashya is the most popular one. And Bhattoji Dikshita also has written Siddhanta Kaumudi, but he uses a different method, a little bit different method he has used. And then Panini's comprehensive and scientific theory of grammar is conventionally taken to mark the start of classical Sanskritam language. Then Panini's work became known in 19th century in entire Europe, where it influenced modern linguistics, initially through Franz Bopp and subsequently through Sanskrit scholars such as Saussure, then Bloomfield, then Jacobson, and others. And Fritz Stahl notes that the idea of formal rules in a language proposed by Saussure in 1894, who is this Ferdinand Saussure is considered as the father of modern structural linguistics, and He lectured on Sanskrit for 3 decades and further developed it was further, whatever he did, it was further developed by Noam Chomsky in 1957. And all these people have greatly praised Maharshi Panini. More importantly, the very idea that formal rules can be applied to the areas outside of logic or mathematics. First of all, what happens? Usually everybody thinks rules can be applied only in mathematics or logic. But Panini Maharshi has proved that rules can be applied to languages also. And Bloomfield, who is the founding father of American structuralism, he also studied Panini's works and wrote a paper titled On Some Rules of Panini. Then this Paul Kiparsky, he says, one of the greatest monuments of human intelligence is only beginning to claim its rightful position in linguistics. Many of the insights of Panini's grammar still need to be recaptured. But those that are already understood constitute a major theoretical contribution. And there is this Encyclopedia of Language and Linguistics. Just a screenshot is shared here. This contains 11,000 pages and 2 editions it has seen. And Fritz Stahl says Panini was not an ancient and nebulous precursor of a science in which everything has since been done better, but he is a distant colleague of genius from whom linguists are still able to learn. That kind of praise everybody has given to the great Maharshi Panini. Then not only Panini was by far the first linguist in recorded history, but I claim he was the first informatician 24 centuries before computers came into existence. This is what Gerard here has to say. Then, what is informatics? It is Suchana. Information is some Suchana. So, informatics is Suchana Vijnana. So, it is a science of automatic processing of information. Information is a person, informatician is a person who practices informatics. And we can call Panini an information scientist, evident from the formal structure of Ashtadhyayi and his method of analysis of Sanskritam language. And here is just an overview of how what are the contents of this language and linguistics encyclopedia. Maybe you all can buy and read also. Now, let us go to what are sutras. A sutra is just a formula. And our ancestors have given us what should be the characteristics of a sutra. If you look at this table here, some of the sutras are shared. You can see that very cryptic way of writing. You can see Vruddhiradaj Adengunaha Iko Guna Vruddhi Na Dhatulopa Ardha Dhatuke Niticha Didhive Vitam. Very easy to memorize and practice also. So, what are the 6 characteristics of a sutra? Means alpaksharam, minimum letters, minimum number of letters, asandigdham, without any doubtful injunctions. Saravat, it should be the way it is constructed. It should be able to. We should be able to use it at multiple places. Then Vishvatomukham, universal scope should be there for that sutra. Then Astobham, it should not have any fillers, means it should not require anything, some other sutra to fill it. Then Anavadyam, it should be very easy to understand. It should be a plain use of words to express the matter. And these are the Alpaksharam, Asandigdham, Saravat, Vishvatomukham, Astobham, Anavadyam. These are the characteristics of a sutra. And Sutravido Viduhu, Sutravidaha, a person who is an expert in making sutras, he says that a sutra should be like this. Then coming to the how he has composed Ashtadhyayi or grammar Vyakarana. Here, if you look at a machine, that gear, how it is working for the constantly, that gear keeps working, and it helps all the remaining parts to do their work properly. That way, Panini Maharshi has composed Ashtadhyayi Sutra Patha. So, what he does is, this Sutra Patha is just a body of rules. Then, it is supported by Dhatu Patha, Gana Patha, Maheshwara Sutrani, Unadi Patha, and then Linganushasana. These are the ancillary texts. And this Ganapatha is actually there are one is in Dhatu, that Gana means there are different Ganas related to Kriya Padas, verbs. But here this Ganapatha, this talks about the nominal terms, nominal stems, you can say. Then Maheshwara Sutrani are 14 in number. Then Unadi Patha is rules for some special forms of words. Linganushasanam, it talks about nominal stems. Then Dhatu Patha is for verbs. Verbs book, you can say. Then the most important point is the Sutra Patha of the Ashtadhyayi has come down to us through oral tradition. It is remarkable that the text, except for few variations and interpolations, has remained virtually intact, and it is mainly due to the enormous amount of work that has gone into its study. And the three major texts are Vyakarana Mahabhashya of Patanjali, Kashika Vritti of Vamana Jayaditya, Vyakarana Siddhanta Kaumudi of Bhattoji Dikshita. They have written Vyakya for this Paniniya Ashtadhyayi. So, till today, the text Ashtadhyayi is intact even after so many thousands of years. Then, how did Panini arrive at these texts? If we look at that, Pre-Paninian period was the phase of phonetics, etymology, lexicons, and morphology. Then also these were there. And during this long period, phonetics was the first science to develop in response to the need to preserve intact, to articulate accurately, and to transmit exactly the Vedic mantras. Then the phonetist's chief contribution, however, and one that contributed significantly to the science of grammar, is their very precise analysis, description, and classification of speech sounds on the basis of place and manner of articulation, and their description and classification of process and principles of sound change in context. Then we come across the name Yaska. Yaska was a great rishi before Panini. He was a semanticist, a votary of knowledge, and opposed the phonetists who believed that correct articulation of the mantra was sufficient, and one did not need to understand the meaning of the Vedic mantras. Many people were of the opinion that only reciting would do. There is no need for any understanding the meaning of the mantras. But after the Mahabharata war, what happened? Suddenly, due to the onset of Kali Yuga, or maybe the approach towards life of people changed, and this resulted in Sanskritam losing its importance in the society. So what happened? These many people thought these Shrutis are meaningless. They are nirarthaka. And thus they started ill-treating, maybe, ill-treating the Vedic mantras, and suddenly Yaska Maharshi realized that he had to do something to protect the Vedic mantras. So he set about the task of interpreting the Vedas through a science of exegesis. Then he compiled an exhaustive list of opaque words, collected all the instances of their use in the text, and set about the task of determining their meaning by deriving them from verb roots that in Sanskritam have fixed meanings. Besides, yes,
because it's going a little fast. So I have a question on this sequencing. Like you mentioned about Yashika Rishi, who was not in favor of, let's say, the semantics, I mean, all the knowledge to percolate down as it was before. And then you mentioned Ved Vyasa, who has written these Vedas. So are they in that sequence? Because Mahabharata, Ved Vyasa was in the period of Mahabharata.
Yes. Vyasa.
So Yaksha, sorry, let me just complete. Yaska was before Mahabharata?
No. He came after Mahabharata.
So how does that gel? Because Ved Vyasa I know was in Mahabharata, I mean, whatever little knowledge I have. So if Yaska was after that, Ved Vyasa actually corrected, you just mentioned what Yaska was doing. So how can that be sequence?
No. He has not corrected. Actually, what happened was Veda Vyasa was able to predict that people would lose interest in Vedas and Shastras.
Right, you mentioned that.
So he did whatever was possible at that time. Then later on, even though Veda Vyasa did so much, people were still losing interest in the Vedic way of living. So that time Yaska came.
Oh, okay. So he was one of them and probably a prominent rishi. That's how
he was a rishi.
He was a rishi, prominent rishi after Ved Vyasa.
Yes.
So which period it must be? Maybe
Maybe 4,000 years ago.
I see 4,000. Okay.
This Mahabharata happened 5,000 years ago. So maybe 500 years later or 1,000 years later, Yaska must have come. That's what
sorry. Just to add to this timing of Mahabharata, there's a lot of research that's going on US. I mean, I can just take a minute to mention that, and later I can share the name of the scientists who are working presently with a team based on the astronomical positions of the stars at the time of Mahabharata. Because I come from Kurukshetra, I belong to Kurukshetra.
Okay.
So I've done a lot of studies on the guys who are working in this field, who are our present day engineers and highly interested in this, what we are studying. And especially one person has done a lot of studies to time the Mahabharata and Ramayana. So as per him, just to square up the discussion, as per him, Mahabharata is 7,000 years old. And Ramayana war took place between Rama and Ravana 12,209 BCE. So that time period goes much beyond what has been the normal thought process. A lot of research being done on this by multiple agencies on the timing of the two our main events. So as per this gentleman who has done this calculation based on not only astronomical but also for Ramayana, for example, hydrological, sea level the change. The army went across to Lanka, and I mean Vanaras, and also other many other scientific disciplines, oceanography, and I forget now, but I can share that clip with all in the group.
Okay.
To the research being done by that. I have purchased a book also by the gentleman. I'll write the name, where the book name is 12,209 BCE, Ramayana period.
Actually, one.
So this is just an aberration. Sorry.
Okay.
I took you away from
One. Yeah. I'll also explain what I have read. Actually, one scholar was there. He recently passed away. He, Dr. K.S. Narayanacharya. He has written. He was a great scholar. He knew multiple languages. He was an expert in multiple languages, and he has done a lot of Shastradhyayana in his childhood, and his command is something amazing. And he has written a book where he has mentioned the day of Krishna's Niryana from Earth. That is also mentioned. So according to that, around 5,000 years is we can say.
Is 5,000 is BCE or from today?
From today, 5,000 years ago.
Achha. So this gentleman says 5,000. He also says 5,000 or 5,000 BCE. So that makes it around 7,000. And as far as Ramayana is concerned, he's actually taken Valmiki Ramayana. And Valmiki Ramayana, the position of stars when these various events took place. And Sugriva's briefing to his army of Vanaras to go in multiple directions, the evidence of which are still found even now. He has mentioned from the interpretation of the briefing being given in Ramayana, Valmiki Ramayana, by Sugriv to go in multiple directions. I mean, I don't want to waste your time, but I'd love to share the name of this guy and his videos. There are 4 videos. Sugriva's Atlas, it is called. He is written.
Okay.
He is written.
You can definitely share, no problem. And
very interesting for everybody. Thank you.
And no problem. That you had sent some message. I couldn't see what was there in that about Vedangas. You can share that also in the group. No
I'll
problem.
be grateful. Yeah, I thought it was nicely covered in a summary form.
Okay.
While you are doing great job by details, but for a layman like us, I mean, I consider a layman totally. So that will be a good summary for anybody to grasp.
Yeah, definitely you can share.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Now, the Samhita texts were analyzed into pada and permuted in various combinations of increasing complexity, like pada, krama, jata, ghana, to be memorized. And it was done so beautifully that exact reconstruction of text could be done at any point of time. And Yaska set up the 4 parts of speech in his Nirukta. Nirukta was the Grantha he has written. Nama, Akhyata, Upasarga, and Nipata. Then these were later on used by Panini Maharshi in his grammar. Then the Pada Vibhaga, the 4 parts of speech, is in today's terminology a morphosyntactic classification. And Panini's this analysis of language has a direct relationship with Yaska's Nirukta. Then Yaska connects in his etymologies the sciences of phonetics and morphology on the one hand, and morphology and sentence grammar on the other. Then what happened? Phonetics structural analysis of speech sounds as bundles of phonetic features made it possible to bring Pratyahara Sutra. What is this Pratyahara Sutra? That we will see next. Then in the process, Yaska has taken up many issues of theoretical interest, like he talks of language change and variation over time, space, and regional influences, actually. If you observe, the word gay had a beautiful meaning in olden days, but now it is transformed to someone who is neither male nor female, something like that. I don't know what it is, but something it has lost its that beautiful meaning. And like that, many words are due to the regional influences or variations over time and space. They undergo a lot of change. And for Yaska, what he did was, he has taken examples of variation in usage of the words from the regions of Afghanistan to Assam. Such a great work he has done. Then he also describes 6 modifications of becoming and says that words are used to designate objects with regard to everyday affairs in the world. Then it describes philosophic, social, and psychological factors that influence the meaning of a word. And then from the point of view of grammar, he reduces the entire vocabulary into 4 grammatical types. Then Panini Maharshi takes these 4 parts of speech and he constructs sup and ting. Sup are those subantas. They are nominal inflections, and ting are the verbal inflections. Then there are pratyayas added to that, and word is produced. Then the goal of grammar is to judge the sadhutva, he says, acceptability of pada, linguistic constructions. And Panini Maharshi cites 10 earlier grammarians in his Ashtadhyayi, which is the fruit of this grammatical tradition. Then, what are the special features of Panini's Ashtadhyayi? It is, the rules are nested, means they are it is like a nest. We feel they are complicated, but they are not. That is beautifully done. Then there is brevity, means very few number of letters are used to compose each sutra. Then there is harmony among the sutras. there is hierarchy also. Then the sutras are interrelated. That also is beautifully explained by him. And there is a proper structure. Then how he arrived.
Ma'am, can I
yes,
stop
yes,
here?
yes.
While if you kindly go back to the previous slide. Yeah. So I think the first lecture I attended, yours, which happened to be the second in sequence. I couldn't attend the first one. I didn't know. So there I had mentioned, you had asked me something. I had mentioned because I'm also from software background. There's our grammar has been used now, and Germans are saying is the best for software writing.
Yes, yes, yes.
Now this is what this slide actually conveys that.
Yes, yes.
I just wanted to inform everybody, because I've written software with nested rules.
Yeah, yeah.
So nested
That's
rules means,
why.
yeah. So if you have this big, something, first loop rule is called loops. So nested loop. There's another one which is processing here and calculating, and there's another one inside the calculating.
Yes.
So once the innermost calculates and give result to the next one and the next one, so then the rule nested loop is over. Similarly, for what hierarchy is used very famously in software, structure and interrelated are also used. Harmony, I don't know, but rest all are used very much in the software.
Yeah. Actually, that's what I'm coming to that point only. And see here, this mathematical model you can see. How to generate an infinite number of sentences in a language using a finite set of formal rules. And see what happened. He initially gave only 14 sounds, actually, you can say. The how it happened, that is also beautifully given. Actually, when he did tapasya, they say he was a dull student, and his Guru Patni told him to go and do tapasya and pray to Ishvara. So when he did that tapas, Ishvara appeared before him, and Ishvara did not talk anything. He simply played his damaru. The time what happened, these 14 sounds came out from the damaru. Nrittavasane Nataraja Rajaha Nanada Dhakkam Navapanchavaram Uddhartu Kamaha Sanakadi Siddhan Etad Vimarshe Shivasutra Jalam. So, Nrittavasane. So, what happened when it was about to finish? Nataraja's dance was about to finish. Nataraja Rajaha Nanada, he made sounds. Dhakkam, using his dhakka. How many times? Nava Pancha Varam. Nava Pancha. If you add 9 and 5, it is 14. So, what are the sounds? They are Aivun, Rilit, Evum, I ouch, Haya Varat, Lan, Nyamangananam, Jhabhai, Ghadadash, Jabagadadash, Kha Pha Cha Tha Tha, Chatatav, Kapai, Shasar, Hal. Can you make out anything from this?
Yeah, this is part of the Sanskrit language, all this.
Yes. So see here, he comes up with this non-inclusive upper bound set. How he has done? Now, a, e, u, we say, no, the varnas in Indian languages. So for all of them, for the first three actually, a, e, u, he has taken this as a pratyahara, this an. An would be the pratyahara. A, e, u, n. If you say an, that means that includes a, e, and u. Then if he says ak, That will be a, I, U, R, L. If you go back, see, the second sutra is the end, last letter of the second sutra is K. A, I, U, R, L. So, if you say ak, from A to L is added. Then, if you say ang, it will be A, I, U, R, L, A, O. Then, if you say ach, all the swaraksharas have come. A, I, U, R, L, A, O, I have up to that. So, Panini Maharshi has given us these shortest possible way of remembering things. Then an, ak, ik, ach. Then hal, he says, hayavara, all the consonants. What all the consonants are there in Sanskritam, they all come under hal. So these are called pratyaharas. An, ak, ik, ach, hal, and there are 44 pratyaharas given by Panini Maharshi. I hope you are able to follow. First, he gives these 14 sutras. They are called Maheshwara Sutrani. Clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. The next step is these pratyaharas. He will shorten them. Already they are shorter. He will shorten them some more. And this last letter, a, I, U, N is there, no? This last letter would be undergoing some sutra, and it is called it. It, the letter that undergoes that it will become lopa. So when you say ak, it will be a, I, U, R, L. Then this na, this gets cancelled. This becomes it. Then if you say ach, a, I, U, R, L, A, O, I, O. Here what happens? This na is it, k is it. Then directly ach, cha will be used. Ach. Are you able to follow? Should I explain once again?
To me, it looks like, ma'am, just first one is composed of the first letter and the last letter. Similarly for all. Aka, A, first letter and last letter. Iki, E and last letter. Acha, A and last letter. So, I mean, if you see the first two characters making the word an, ak, ikaka, nothing but the first and the last letter after the equivalent sign. Yeah, this is what looks like.
So what happens? What about the others? I don't see any.
Same. Hal also. Ha is the first letter. La is the last letter.
Yes.
So all of them are in the same scheme.
All are. No. Here, if you see like that, in this sutra, if you see, how will you understand? 14 sutras are there, no?
Yeah, these are different.
Yes.
These will have to understand the way you were explaining.
Yes. So here what happens? All these 14 sutras are given first. Then he comes up with these pratyaharas. Shortest form of remembering things. Okay. Then, and one more beauty here is, if you look at the consonants actually, Hayavara, the order is a bit reversed. It is not Yara, Lava like that. Hayavara is given. Then La comes separately. There is a reason for that, because Ucharana Sthana is different for La. Okay. Then all the fifth letters, nya, ma, nga, na, nam, all the fifth letters of this kavarga to pavarga. Kakha, gagha, nga, cha, cha, ja, cha, nya, tatha, dadha, na, tatha, dadha, na, papa, papa, babha, ma. So all the fifth letters have come there. Then jha, bhai, there all the fourth jha, bhai, they are given separately. Then the dha, dha, dha. they are given separately. There is a reason for that. Okay, all the fourth letters. Then Jabagadadash, all the third letters. Kha, pha, cha, tha, ta, cha, ta, ta. There also second and first letters. Ka, pa are also first letters, but they are given separately. There is a reason, because of the Ucharana Sthana. Then Sha, Sha, Sa, they are given separately, and Ha is given separately. So Uchara, they all depend on they are designed in such a way that Ucharana Sthana is also kept in mind while designing these sutras. So beautiful. So much of observation he must have done. Then
Mahodaye,
no,
I just wanted to remark that we use a lot of these when we are doing these sandhis, especially.
Yes.
The pratyaharas and all these sutrani. Especially, so that's what just a remark, that's all.
Yes. And if you look at the different sutras, they are like today's programming, what we do in computers. Same way he has designed these sutras. There are major sutras are divided into Sanya, Paribhasha, Vidhi, Nishedha, Niyama, Atidesha, and Adhikara sutras. They cover a majority of the known concepts of modern day programming. Then here it is given how it is done in computers, programming concepts. Then if we ponder over what is a language, a set of sentences, then sentence is a set of words. A word is a set of letters. A letter, a form of sound. A sound, a vibration of air molecules as perceived by the ears. Here, if you see how artificial intelligence and so many things we talk about, automation, then machine learning, deep learning. So thinking leads to this, the method is there. There is a systematic way of doing things, and that is the way Panini Maharshi has composed Ashtadhyayi. And there are sutras Anabhihite, Swatantrah Karta, Samana Kartrikayoho Purvakale. So this Anabhihite, what does it say? When actually what happens when a person is doing some action, he is Swatantrah Karta, he is the doer of the action. Like Balakaha, Jalam Pibati, boy drinks water. Jalam is the object there. Balaka drinks, a boy drinks water. So at times when what happens, this Anabhihite is an Adhikara Sutra. So in the previous slide we have seen Adhikara Sutra. So what does an Adhikara Sutra say? It says like Saha Katam Karoti. Let me explain with an example. Saha Katam Karoti. He makes the mat. So the object here is what? That kata, that mat is the object. So doer is karta, object is mat, and the action word is karoti. The object kata, katam, it is denoted in dvitiya vibhakti. So when you change the sentence, like kriyate kataha or kritaha kataha or kritaha kataha, it is bought, shatena rupyakena kritaha kataha. That time what happens? The karma is not abhihita, it is anabhihita, we say. And Samanakartrikayoho Purvakale. How is the information coded? So two actions are performed one after the other by the same doer, same karta. Then what happens? The affix tva needs to be used for the first action. Like snatva bhajati. He takes bath and then prays. Like that. Bhuktva gacchati. He eats and then goes. So that tva pratyaya, where to use. So this kind of beauty is there in Panini Maharshi's Ashtadhyayi. Let us stop here today and continue with Ashtadhyayi in our next session.
So, ma'am, before you close this, sorry, 1 minute more. So this circles that you're drawn overlapping, deep learning, which is artificial intelligence today. So this also was, I mean, this has been interpreted from Panini Ashtadhyayi, or how is this come up? This inter circles.
Yes. How when the scientists, language scientists, I call them, how they have understood Panini's Ashtadhyayi, comparing it with this machine learning, deep learning, and artificial intelligence. See, you have to feed something to a machine, isn't it? Then only it can give you commands. It can give you the results, whatever results you need.
Yeah.
So how that is done, how that can be done through a language, that is what has been shown here.
So this has been interpreted from Panini's Ashtadhyayi, what is on the right side, deep learning to automation.
It is yet to be done. Actually, people are working on it actually. I had attended one course there. They were teaching so beautifully. Take a shloka like Raghuvamsha, some shloka. How to feed it to the computer. That kind of teaching they were doing. Of course, I couldn't complete that course. Sometime I should find time and do it.
So
It
this
is so
slide
good.
is beautifully, actually it conveys everything what is being done today. Because what is language is also beautifully explained, graduating from sound, which is in the ears, to the sentences which we form based on what we learned in our brain on those sounds. Like you mentioned about Shiva's Damru playing 14 times. And all languages have come out from that. So similarly, this what is language is beautifully explained in higher hierarchy, from sound to sentences. Yeah, excellent. So we should feel proud of Panini.
Yes.
He's driving the whole world crazy.
Yes, and see how many foreigners are working on it. How many people have done so much of work. And long ago, when I came to, my husband was posted elsewhere, and we shifted to Bangalore. That time I went to this Aksharam Samskrita Bharati. There, I went to inquire something. One foreigner came and he was asking me in Sanskritam for somebody. So I didn't know anything of what is this. Foreigners are able to talk so fluently, and this being our own language, I am not able to answer him. Of course, I was able to understand something, but I was not able to reply. And one more thing I noticed when we were in Ahmedabad, there is this Gujarat Vidyapeeth. Once my father had come, he wanted some book which was out of print. So we went to that Sanskrit section of that library. The entire library was full of Max Muller, and it was so dusty. And that time I wondered, what am I doing? Max Muller has written entire library is filled with Max Muller books, and what are we doing here?
No, they exploited it actually. They are totally exploited. They are selfish people. We are selfless people.
No,
they have exploited. No, Max
not
Muller
like
and
that.
all. Max Muller and all have exploited our knowledge and they have put their own color on that. I've read some Max Muller things, but
Maybe, but we are also responsible for that, no?
No, they are responsible. I'm not denying. What I'm saying is very unfortunate that our own people have forgotten, but foreigners are coming and learning and taking it as if it they are gone.
Yes, one of my friends, she was quite old at that time when we did MA. Later on, she took up this Bakshali manuscript, PhD in Bakshali manuscript. It seems an entire village in today's Lahore, maybe entire village. They were experts in this algebra.
Oh.
Our algebra, not what schools are teaching for children.
You're talking post-independence, pre-independence?
No. This was during maybe Panini's time. Maybe later on.
Yeah, that was all India actually. What has gone to Pakistan was most prominent. That part in Kashmir was most prominent for education.
Yes, when that my friend purchased that book, it was this heavy, and when she purchased it, it was she had to get it from Delhi. It was not available in Bangalore also. And when I looked at the book, some Japanese, they have done so much of research, and we don't know. We have first time heard that the Bakshali manuscript, this Bakshali was there in village, and our own people have worked so much on that, and it was really amazing. So
it's a great job you are doing. I mean, I think you should send all this to Prime Minister's office. So
he knows everything. He knows everything. I need not tell him anything.
I'm really feeling proud of seeing all this. Thank you.
Yes. So we should all work towards whatever is possible in our capacity to spread the knowledge. I am telling you all these things because it is very much essential that we share it with everybody. अस्तु समापयामः. ॐ सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामयाः, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्. ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः. हरिः ओम्.
धन्यवाद भगिनी. राम राम.